course, we've seen several protests over water shortages quite recently, but now Joburg's Public Safety Department says it wants some answers. It's calling on Rand Water to be transparent and to further explain the challenges that they are facing. Now, the department wants a meeting with Rand Water officials. But for more on this, we are joined by Public Safety MMC, Mr. Mgcini Tshwaku, who joins me this morning for this conversation. MMC, thank you so much for your time and a very warm good morning to you. I mean, from where you stand as a public official, what do you understand about the water shortages being experienced in Joburg? What's the brief that you have been given?
Okay, no, thank you very much. Good morning to your listeners. Look, the brief that I got from the MMC for water, for infrastructure, environment, is that the Rand Water, they're actually having pump trips. So when the pump trips, they can't put water in the reservoirs of actually the Joburg water. So this thing now has been causing for a long time, like protests everywhere. So that now to a point where now our police and wherever we are, we're actually getting the bottleneck because we have to go out and talk to the people themselves. So the question that I'm actually asking is that as the Rand Water, why they don't have the standby pumps? Because if one pump trips, engineering wise, you need to have another pump that will be able to pump into the reservoirs. So when we so he told me that when they tried to really to go on site and do this oversight, but the Rand Water is not allowing them to go into their site to really have a look. So and then so there's this blame now in the city of Johannesburg that the problem is with the Joburg water. And we're trying to explain that the problem is not with us, it lies with the Rand Water. So Rand Water need to tell us exactly what is really happening, what are the issues, so that if there's any intervention we can do on our side, then we can actually, we're able to, to do it. Yeah. So that is what I actually got.
Absolutely, because what I'm hearing from you, MMC, is that there's a bit of finger pointing that is not assisting the situation. On one hand, yes, Joburg Water says it's Rand Water. Rand Water says no, it's Joburg Water. But at the end of the day, the residents want a resolution in sight because you're right, the protests definitely are ongoing. The water is not clean. People are having to settle for water that is unclean. That is not, safe nor healthy for any residents. So when can we see a resolution in sight, do you think, MMC?
Look, over and above, the problem that I'm having is that, as an engineer, is that the danger with this, if you keep on stopping and starting water, you will have a situation where, every time when you start up these pumps, you've got the thing, what is called the airlock inside. And also there's a danger of what is called the water hammer. Water hammer is a sudden closure of a valve that can lead to a high pressure. And knowing that our infrastructure is old, we can have a disaster where pipe can burst, So that's why I really had to jump in and say, what, for the sake of the public safety, we need to have a very urgent meeting. So if also, because I think we've been calling them and all of that, I think Joburg Water has been trying to really reach out to have a meeting. What we want to do, we want to go to their site. We want to do oversight at Rand Water. They keep on saying that their site are national key point. We can't go in. We, as some of us are engineers, we can go in there and let's say, look, and actually advise. So they need to allow Joburg Water. And also, they must have a meeting with the EM and the MMCs. There must be an MMC team that will go to actually them so that we can get to the bottom of it. If there's a crisis, they must come out. There's a crisis because this thing of stopping and starting is actually not on. It's very dangerous. Remember, when you start up a pump, it takes days and days to really, to at least get a water because you need to clear these airlocks and all of that. So they need to come out clear and say what is really happening, and we must sit down. And these things of some red tape is not going to assist at all.
MMC, are you concerned that Rand Water has not been transparent enough with some of the challenges they may be faced with?
They are not. They are not, none whatsoever. And what I like is that they can't blame, the dams which are low and all those kind of stuff like that. It looks as if there's some incompetent engineers which are working there. So we want to get the bottom of it so that we can communicate clear with our people that there's a problem of A, B, C, and D, because currently we're not sure what is going on and all of that there. If there's an engineering issue, our people need to know about it. And this issue, and this thing of really having, the tankers all over the show, is not going to really, to really help. So that meeting between Joburg Water and the MMCs and the mayor must happen with immediate effect. So I think that I'm just going to check now with the MC for water, if there's any response that is coming to actually them. And I hope that they are watching here, because what I'm going to do is that if they don't answer in the next 5 days, well, I'm going to ensure that the people are redirected. All these protests are redirected to Rand Water, because we cannot have an anarchy here at the city of Joburg. They must come out clear and tell us what is actually happening. If it's a maintenance issue, they must say it so that we're able to put systems in place, because they just switch off water without us even knowing. And then people have not been having water for weeks and weeks. And it's a health hazard. And they're very frustrated. I've been contacted by old gogos, old mamas, people everywhere. That we can't go to work. It's not on. It's not on. It's going to cause a huge anarchy.
We've also seen the knock-on effect on this. I mean, you mentioned the issue around water tankers. We also know that vulnerable communities have also been taken advantage of. People coming into communities, pretending to be providing water, some selling water. This, of course, besides the fact that residents have to now also drink contaminated water, which they say they are aware of, by the way, but they're desperate at this time and they have absolutely nowhere else to go to reach for that water. MMC, we've been in Midrand, we've been in Germiston, amongst other areas, just in terms of tracking down where the issues are. From your understanding, where are the other places affected by this water shortage?
There's another area that did not have water for almost 4 weeks now. It's what's that place again? Yes, the name is actually is running away. I can check out for you, because those are the ones actually that have been affected the most. If you check, they actually even had an interview yesterday. I think yesterday or a day before. Right. Everyone just came out. It was just not on. But I can get some of these areas that I actually have. That's actually quite a lot of them. And most of them is the high-lying areas, because look, with the low areas, you can use the gravity so that you can actually have water there. But in the areas like Midrand, in the higher areas, the Northcliffe areas, you need a pump. So, I mean, with the levels of that water, which is very low, you can't pump anymore, because if you pump that water, you will actually pick up dust and the water level, which is not actually good. So there is a serious crisis, and the problem is that these guys are not clear about in terms of what is going on and communicate efficiently. And the public has also been complaining that even the Rand Water is not actually they're not actually communicating when are this water going to be switching on and off. So we're just appealing to actually them to be really open. They must tell us exactly, like they did before, when they did not do a maintenance, that look, there's a problem here, like this, like that, and then we're going to switch off water at this area and this area, so that people are aware. They are able to really prepare, themselves. We had to close as well. I mean, as a metro, we don't have water, so we're using virtual.
My last question to you very briefly, MMC, if you may, please. I mean, I'm also seeing a petition here by the Democratic Alliance within the province claiming that it's become, and I'm quoting them here, it's become increasingly clear that the CEO, Sipho Mosai, is completely incapable of the task ahead of them. I understand this petition garnering around 6,000 signatures. What's your response to some of the calls we're hearing here for the CEO to either be sacked or for him to resign?
Look, that's why we want to have a meeting with the Rand Water, so that we can establish what is the issue. Is it a management issue? or is it an engineering issue? What is the issue? Because they can't blame it on the water level, which is low. So we need to do our own the assessment as well, so that we can establish, okay, we can take a decision in terms of who's incompetent. So I mean, with the pumps which are tripping, for me, it looks as if the engineering department is not actually proper, because what I know is that you must have a running pump and a standby pump. And the running pump normally uses electricity, and the standby pump must use a diesel. It's a diesel engine. So if one of the engineers did not think about that, then it means that there's an incompetency in the engineering, in the engineering part of it. It's like in water, like in the fire water. Fire water, you have a running water straight, and then you have a diesel engine, so that you don't have a situation where there's no electricity, pumps are not moving. So those ones, they said the pumps, they actually trip. Is it because of the load shedding, or is it because the pumps are not serviced? So we need to get the bottom of it, so that we are able to call companies like KSB, Sulza, and all those companies emergent, so that they're able to fix these pumps. Yeah.
Thank you so much for speaking to me, MMC. Appreciate your time this morning. MMC for Public Safety in Johannesburg. That's Mgcini Tshwaku.